I'm gonna start by making super soft meatballs using Lebanese spices. If you don't like those spices, you can use whatever spices you would normally put into a meatball, and then I'm gonna make sauce to go with it. I'm gonna start by making pomegranate molasses because it takes the most amount of time. I'm gonna use 2 cups of palm juice, and they are gonna cook down to 2 tablespoons of pomegranate molasses. It's kind of crazy. Cook it on medium-low, trying to cook the liquid off and be left with the sugars. And now it's time for the rest of the ingredients. So we'll start with hamburger. Next we need breadcrumbs, and I just take the ends of the bread that nobody eats, and I dry them, and then I blitz them in the food processor and turn them into breadcrumbs, and then they're not wasted. The recipe calls for 1 slice of bread, so we'll start with that. For spices, we're gonna need cinnamon, allspice, red pepper flakes, salt, pepper, and cardamom. We'll be grating an onion into the meatballs and adding in garlic. Next we'll need our breadcrumbs, milk, and an egg. We'll start with 1/3 cup of milk. Those are going to be added to the breadcrumbs, and that helps make the meatballs really soft and tender. So we'll add in the breadcrumbs and pour over the milk to let it start getting soft. The breadcrumbs start getting soft, not the milk. We'll mix it up a little bit. We'll need a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of allspice, half a teaspoon of cardamom, and half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. But I am a baby about spices, so I'm just going to add like less than 1/8 of a teaspoon. Add as much as you feel like you can handle. For me, that's like that much. And that's being really, really brave. And we'll add salt and pepper to taste. Well, I'll just add... I don't ever use that much pepper either because I'm a baby about spice. We'll give everything a good mix and then set it to the side because next we're going to use a box grater to grate the onion. And you'll need 3/4 of a cup of grated onion. Looks pretty. I really do mean that too. It added more color as opposed to just being all the same shade of brown. I'm going to cut the onion in half long ways. Peel off the outer skin. So get the onion naked. And then if you see the part right here that has like little hairs, those are the roots. So I'm going to leave those attached and then cut off a little bit from the other end. And we're probably going to end up using the entire onion because we also need a cup of grated onion for the sauce. And then start grating it and hope you have Kleenexes nearby because you might start crying. I thought I was going to make it, and then I got to the very end and I'm crying. This is half an onion, didn't even make 3/4 of a cup grated onion. made more like half a cup. But grating the onion makes it a lot easier to eat on a soft food diet. That's why I was so excited when I found this recipe. So that's almost the entire onion. There's a little bit left that I'll add to the 1 cup of grated onion we need for the sauce. Since I'm here and I have the stuff, and I have onion juice all over the cupboard, I'm just going to grate the onion for the sauce too. After that, I need to grate a carrot. I already have garlic made. I saw somebody online who had the idea to take a lot of garlic, put it in the food processor, and blitz it down, and then put it in a Ziploc bag, and you use like a chopstick to cut lines. I use the back of a knife to make grids, and each square is 1 clove of garlic. And that means you don't have to take time fighting with the garlic and peeling all the skin off of it when you cook dinner. And I thought it's like the best idea I've ever seen. One of the best ideas. We need 2 to 3 cloves for the meatballs, and we'll need 2 cloves for the sauce. For the carrot, we're going to use the smaller side of the box grater with the smaller holes. And then grate the carrot. I have a small carrot, so I'm doing 2, but the recipe only calls for 1. And this is actually, anytime I need to use a carrot and something, grating it is the easiest option to be able to get a carrot into food and have a soft food diet. I know carrots are one of the big things that I was warned about with my jaw surgeries. Also apples. This recipe is a great one to do during cold and flu season because after grating all those onions, my sinuses are clear. I've had a good cry, so I'm not worried about the winter weather anymore. It's all good. The last thing we need for our meatballs is a half cup of parsley. I don't have quite a half cup, but I'll take what I can get. Closer to a tablespoon or 2 of parsley. But that's fine, it's more vegetables added in and more color. Now I need to add in the hamburger, 1.5 pounds. The onion and garlic, and we're good on everything else. Oh, an egg, we need an egg. Let me start mixing things together and then I'll add the egg. The egg will help bind things together and also add a little bit more protein. And then I can feed the eggshell to my worms. For the sauce, we'll need the grated onion, the garlic, the grated carrot, a 14-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. I have peeled tomatoes and I'm going to put them in the food processor. Cinnamon, allspice, bay leaves, salt and pepper, red pepper flakes if you want, and then the pomegranate molasses that we've been working on. And you need to watch it very carefully to make sure it doesn't burn. I'm going to start the sauce by cooking the onion in some olive oil. Oh, wow, okay, that was more than I expected. I wasn't thinking. So being that this is a Mediterranean dish, having lots of olive oil. And while those things are starting to cook, I'm going to become a meatball factory and start making meatballs on the other counter. I have my stove on medium. I'm going to add in the onions. And then I'm going to add in about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Maybe more like half. salt will help draw the water out of the onion and help them cook. But the onion pieces are very small, so they're going to cook faster than you normally would have them cook. I don't have a cookie scoop. I just have a regular ice cream scoop. So I'm just going to use that as a guide to help me figure out how big the meatballs are going to be. It's been about 4 minutes. I'm going to add in the carrots. And I'm also going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This is what they mean by salt as you go. Every time I'm adding in another vegetable, I'm adding in a little bit of salt to help that vegetable cook. And when I add in the tomatoes, I'll add in the last little bit of salt. Right now I'm going to take the tomatoes, put them in the food processor, and blitz them into sauce. I have meatballs, the 6 larger meatballs right here are going to be used in a meatball sub with the same sauce that we're making and the same meatballs, just it's not going to be over pasta. And a meatball sub on a soft food diet, you soak the bread in the sauce and then put the meatballs on top, and then the bread is soft enough to eat. I'm going to add in the garlic till it becomes fragrant. Becoming fragrant means till you can smell the garlic cooking, so it doesn't take any time at all. You add the garlic in last because the pieces are cut up smallest, so they won't need very much time to cook. And then I'm going to add in the tomatoes. I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to the tomato. Add 2 bay leaves. Ooh, mine got kind of crunched. Alright, let me see if I can find some better ones. These are sort of dust. Okay, take 2. 2 bay leaves. We need a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. But first, 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Salt will enhance the flavor of the other spices. That was a 1/2 teaspoon cinnamon, and a 1/2 teaspoon allspice, and mix it all together and let it simmer. We're going to cook the meatballs in this sauce. I'm going to add in the pomegranate molasses as soon as it's done boiling all the water off. When the pomegranate starts to boil up like this, it's done. Put the meatballs in the air fryer at 350 for 5 minutes because I was worried they weren't going to get cooked through in time for dinner. So now I'm going to take each one and put it in the sauce and let it go until it's time for dinner. I ended up adding a 1/2 cup of water, which is in the recipe. I just initially couldn't see a reason for it, and I should know to trust the experts. Thank you to the Mediterranean dish for the inspiration recipe that gave me more than mashed potatoes to eat.